and welcome. My name is Hannah Mikell. I'm a Clemson Extension agronomy agent in Clarendon and Williamsburg counties. I have the pleasure today to meet with Mr. Jeremy Cannon with Cannon Ag Products. Jeremy, tell us a little bit about your operation.
Well, Hannah, pleasure being here with you. I'm actually a fourth generation farmer here in Turbeville, South Carolina. And we farm a lot of different row crops and produce, and much like where we're in the field here with some peanuts that we have planted.
That's right, yeah. We met probably 12, 15 years ago. You were doing corn, soybeans, cotton. You added peanuts about 4 years ago with some other produce that you grow on the side, which takes a lot of your time, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But today I'm pleased to be here with you and talk about some of these Virginias that we have out here. These are our nice big ballpark peanuts, right?
Yep.
Do you grow any other varieties?
We actually grow some Valencias, little small red peanuts that everybody loves to boil, and we grow some for our market.
Oh, cool. So with your Virginias, about what time of year are you planting those, and what time are we looking at harvesting?
We're trying to get them planted, mid-May, and the actual variety that we plant are called Baileys, and they're 120-day peanuts. So you don't really want to start even looking or even considering digging them until they get at least 120 days after planting.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, so our runners then are going to be a smaller variety of peanut, and those are going to be more of like our crushing peanuts and that sort of thing. And the Virginias are going to be our candies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Higher oleic, they have a higher oil content. So whenever you're growing these, what are some of the few things that you need to keep your eye on?
Probably the thing that we look at the most is fungicides.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of, any kind of leaf spot or, insect pressure within the field. That's something that we would monitor every week. We got a spraying schedule. It's like a 5 spray.
Yeah.
That we try to spray something every couple of weeks on them.
That's right. Yeah, baby them, kind of keep them in shape and make sure they're not losing their leaves, because you know as well as I do, if the bush is out there but there's no leaves to pick them up, there's no way really to flip them and invert them to let them dry during the growing season.
You also need the leaves to be in good shape, because all that energy out of the plant is going to go back into that peanut to make a good peanut, a sellable peanut.
That's right, yeah. All right, so Jeremy, 2024, this has been at most a challenging season with our rainfall. Tell us about that.
It's been dry. We have been so dry. We've had D3 drought status, which is just hardly no rain. I don't think since May we have had any rain. I think we've had 4 rain events, and all of them have been tropical or subtropical, off of a tropical storm or off of the hurricane. It's not really a soaking in rain, something that's really going to benefit your soil moisture profile. It's difficult to even imagine what, as dry as we are this year, have been in 2024, what it would have been had we not had any, tropical system come through. I was just thinking that, sometimes even the storms are a benefit. As much as we hate to see tropical storms, our state would be pretty desperate had they not came in 2024.
Yeah, and even after those have passed this year, we've still had a prolonged period, this tad bit of the end of the growing season. But now let's say if we have adequate rain, these peanut plants are going to lap the row, right?
For sure.
And when we talk about lapping the row, they're touching.
They're going to touch each other.
Yeah. So tell us, what has your dad ever got onto you about how straight your rows were, or how does that look?
Well, that's one thing that, today we have that we didn't have 15, 20 years ago when I first started pulling rows, planting rows, is we have GPS.
Yeah. Yay.
Thank the Lord for GPS, But, years ago, we did it all by row marker. We had it, to start off a field, you would pick out a tree or a bush on the other end of the field, and you try to drive to it.
You close one eye and just see how straight you can get it, right?
I always did a really good job of that back in the woods, but the fields beside the highway is when I was so efficient at making a terrible road right side the highway. And then you got Your daddy's upset because you pulled a crooked row. He said you had to do it right side the highway.
They're going to be talking about it at church, after church.
Yeah.
They're all going to say, did you see that road Jeremy pulled?
At the store, all your farmer friends, they would judge you when they came by. Looking at this road, and that's the crookedest road I've ever seen. But getting back to what we are today in these peanuts, straightness and getting on top of the row when accuracy is utmost importance. Because when you're digging those peanuts, if you're off one side or the other, you're leaving, it could be a third or half your crop in the dirt.
Yeah, that digger blade. So what I guess our growers need to, or our viewers need to learn about is there's a big blade that kind of pushes underneath that plant and inverts it. And as it starts to pull it, it's going to turn it over.
That's right.
And lay it upside down. But if our blade's off, it's going to start shearing the taproot off of that crop, which could leave a tremendous amount of peanuts in the ground. So that's our yield.
Yes.
Up until this point, you've harvested nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we want to make sure that that's as accurate as possible.
Right, so that is the significance of, of being over the center of the row.
Yeah.
Is that knife can cut peanuts off and leave them in dirt. Your peanut is your weight, is your yield, is your income for that year. But one thing that we have today is the GPS accuracy. We actually plant and harvest with RTK technology, which gives you sub-inch accuracy, repeatability. When I say repeatability, we can plant a row and in 3 months or in 6 months or whenever, we can come back and dig the same row.
Yep.
I just think that's, it's fascinating. It's amazing what technology does, but it is key to making a good peanut crop.
That's very true. Very, very true. So another part of that is not only knowing the accuracy of how to dig and how to spray throughout the growing season, but knowing when to harvest.
Yes.
So we talked about the days. There's, you start planting in spring, and then by the time we get to 140 days, and we start really monitoring that crop for maturity levels, right?
Yep.
And I like to think of it as on a bell curve, right? So we're not going to want to dig too early where all of our maturity is immature, because that's going to shrink and we'll have a lot of loss there in weight. But we want it to where most of our crop, whenever we pull them off and we check the peanuts, are going to be at a peak performance, right?
Yep. We start looking at 120 days.
That's
we go and get a sample and we blast them and kind of look at colors, and that color scheme would tell you, when is the key time to dig. Now, they say once the peanut gets mature, the difference between the pod being full and it being, immature, is about 500 pounds that you could gain of yield in a week.
Yep.
So it is, you can make an excellent crop, excellent plant, a large sample of nuts, but if that nut is not fully mature, then you're giving away yield.
Yeah.
At this field, we're on 154 days, which is really late.
Yeah.
But we got some peanuts that were made
late season.
Late. After the tropical storm, the plant got a little bit of life in it, started blooming again, trying to set pods again. So we actually have like 2 crops being made on this plant this year, when typically, all of them will be, in a closer window. So as you get closer, past 150 days, you stand the risk of losing the older ones.
A lot of our people will know there's a peg that holds that peanut down in the ground, and that's what's feeding it and giving it nutrition, right? And so whenever you go to invert those peanuts and dig them, the pod or the peg strength needs to be great enough to hold it, to pull it up out of the ground.
That's right.
So although you've got a nice load of nuts in the ground, if we don't have the pod strength and we haven't protected those plants well enough, we might lose some of it. Yep. It's just knowing that sweet spot. It's almost like an art, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And you're looking at days. You're also looking at weather. Peanuts have to have at least 4 days to dry down, and it has to go. That's 4 days of high temp. You're actually looking at 4 days, warm temperature, low humidity.
So after they dry down, you got about 4 days, and then what'll happen next?
Well, we'll run the combine through, and we'll actually pull some off, and we'll take them to the market and check for moisture. They want them around 10.5, but
10.5%
moisture.
Okay.
But there's also, there's a risk there of not having enough days, if we think rain is coming
Right.
down the road and we're not going to have enough days to harvest them all, then maybe we'll start digging around, or maybe start combine around 14%. The later you get in the season, the closer you get into November,
Yeah.
the chances go up. You got frost damage, you got rain damage, and you have a lot less drying days. Obviously, the days are getting shorter.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good challenge to picking the right day and the right time, when to dig, when to harvest,
That's right.
to get the most yield.
So Jeremy, one of the most entertaining things I've had in my dealings with peanut harvesting time of the year is knowing what's out in these fields and knowing how attractive a peanut is, right? Especially to like a mouse.
Oh yes.
So along with the mouse goes what else?
Well, snakes.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly what you see out here in these fields. Snakes chasing after rats, chasing after our peanuts.
They will, and so when these peanuts are dried and combined, this habitat underneath these vines make for a perfect place for little mice to run around, but also for the snakes to catch them. And so when, the combine is not going to select whether they're picking up a snake or a peanut, right?
Oh no.
And so that, unfortunately, the hand that's up in the top of the bin raking all the peanuts down and leveling them off, occasionally we'll see a snake. And all that hooping and hollering is pretty hilarious sometimes.
Well, hilarious is a strange choice of words.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's not that fun when you're 14 feet in the air
No.
and you get hemmed up in there with a snake. So it's evasive maneuvers,
It's either you or me, right?
Yeah, one of us has got to go.
Yep, that's funny. Well, I've enjoyed talking with you about the peanuts. I hope other people have gained a little bit of insight into them if they wanted to try to grow some. I know back home in Mississippi, my next door neighbor actually grew peanuts. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Yeah. The deer loved them, so they ate a lot of the top side of them. But that was a fond childhood memory, is going out and finding what was in the ground, right?
Yep. Deer actually if the deer pressure is high enough, deer actually will eat the peanuts after they're dug.
You're right.
They can start smelling them. I guess the sweetness of them, they'll actually, you can actually lose yield while you're waiting on the combine.
Exactly right, yeah. We've seen that. I mean, we did a yield check one year and we were thinking like 500 plus pounds, and you got out there and we started getting our tickets back from the buyer, and it was 1,000 or more lower, which was disheartening kind of.
Yeah, it's really hard to see a 2-ton plus peanut crop, laid on top of the dirt and then lose it, and I reckon that saying, it's one of those don't count your chickens before they hatch type deal. The crop is never made until it's at whatever his last destination is.
That's right.
Till it's at the buyer station.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of risk.
A risky business, that's for sure, but it takes a good grower to end up being able to harvest after a challenging year that we've had this year. And I look forward, Jeremy, to seeing all the different other products that you're producing on your farm, and just maintaining the relationship and getting to know your family better and enjoying our time spent out in the field.
Sure. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome.